welcome back. Open Pagan Church. Hope everyone is doing well. Getting lined out here for a Sunday. And of course, those of you watching the pre recorded broadcast, well, we are live on Facebook, at least for the moment, on Open Pagan Church. Want to find us? When I post checking in hashtag Open Pagan Church, people always and forever ask me what the URL is. Click on the hashtag. It'll pull it up. Right, so what are we talking about? Well, we're going to be talking about, has social networking sites helped you in your seeking of your path and learning more about it? I know, excuse me, I know that with the World Wide Web, the internet as it were, there is no, and we can be very thankful for this, but there is no single entity that runs the World Wide Web. It's not owned by any particular government or business, even though governments can control what their people see and don't see. They can control that by controlling the Internet Service Provider, also known as the ISP. For a while, when I was doing Thoughts for the Day on YouTube, I was actually amazed through the years that I saw some of the URLs linking back to some of my YouTube thoughts being shared on some Japanese sites. I found that rather interesting. Also found it interesting that some of our nowadays Open Pagan Church videos are being shared on sites of other countries. That's kind of cool. We generally don't have a whole lot of live viewers, and that's fine. But as long as these broadcasts reach out and help someone, then we're doing what we set out to do. So, what has social networks or social media done for you? Well, I did link to a video in the description that does talk about how social media has been destructive to some. Social media has been the cause for divorce in others. Social media has been the cause for some children getting bad grades in school, not getting to bed on time. Well, there's ways around that. There's an app for that, to sound a corning for a second, but there are. There are apps for that. Install those apps, lock them down, and shut the phones down at between 8 and 9 o'clock in the evening. And don't let those phones come back on until 6 or 7 o'clock the next day. You'll KO that, for the most part. But at the end of the day, isn't it up to families, the parentals of those families? It is our responsibility to keep the family together. Well, as far as researching, I definitely don't want to get off on that tangent. Hell, that'll send me out in the South 40 somewhere, and we won't get anything accomplished. But when you're talking about social media, social networks, research, and what have you for your spiritual path, it's a double-edged sword. There are a boatload of websites out there that are complete and utter crap. Many people don't have what's the word I'm looking for? They don't have the ability to tell crap from history. Well, of course, we all know history is derived from the phrase his story, or the story told by the victor or the winner, if you will. So when you're researching and you're looking things up, you have to keep an open mind. You have to gather several different sites of information to be able to decide what's right for you. Have some of you found social networking and internet research to be more confusing? Well, I have a philosophy about that. I've always said confusion is good. Confusion is good as long as you're willing to step past it and learn more. Confusion gives us the ability and the intrigue, if you will, to learn more. When something confuses me, I like to step back, take a deep breath, look at it with different eyes, so to speak, and try to figure out a different approach. If I'm searching for something for either Open Pagan Church or Live with the Shaman, either one of my broadcasts, I like to research beforehand. Sometimes I may spend a couple of 2 or 3 days researching beforehand to make sure I've got all of my ducks in a row. Man, I never claimed, nor will I ever claim, to know it all. Hell, these days, sometimes I forget what I'm doing from one monitor to the next. I was always raised that a sharp pencil is better than a long memory. If you don't understand that phrase, ask someone older than yourself what it means that a sharp pencil is better than a long memory. If they don't know, I don't know if you can Google that phrase. I've never tried it. But at the end of the day, when you're researching and you're seeking information, good morning to those of you that are just joining. But if you're using social media and social networking and what have you to research and to learn, you always have to balance, okay? Because you have to remember, when it comes to religion or spirituality, normally no two are exactly the same. My perception of my spirituality may be different from yours. Therefore, things that might make sense to you might be utter crap to me. But does that mean you're wrong? I don't think so. I believe that's just what you believe, and you're welcome to it. I think that people should look past the social norms and the social rhetoric to learn. I know that here in 2019, when this video is done, that more and more of society are getting sick and tired of the socially accepted norm of rhetoric thrown down the gabble by preachers or other religious relics that don't want to understand anything new. So at the end of the day, what we're going to have to do is, as a society, we're going to have to teach our kids. There are things that you simply have to accept. There are things that you're not going to understand until it's time. But that doesn't mean don't look. And it definitely does not mean that everything you read in the newspaper, yes, they still print newspapers, and everything you read on this device right here, as well as everything you read on the internet, is not always dead on true. Now, this brings us back to when we're researching the internet, we're going through and we're trying to learn who we are spiritually, what our path is. We're going to have to remember that there are three sides to every truth, like a coin. And those of you that have been watching my broadcast, you've heard me use this description many, many, many times. But there are three sides to every coin. My master, when I was studying martial arts, taught us that the three sides of every coin is my thought, your thought, that's heads and tails, and then there is the ridge of the coin, which is the fact. And the facts are generally very minuscule to what the perceptions of human beings actually could be. When you read an article and you're studying religious philosophy, spiritual ideology, or path specific information, how you perceive that article and how you perceive what you're reading is what's going to be the most important to you. So when you're using social networks and you're using social clubs, you have to keep an open mind, most especially on things like Facebook, YouTube, um, my God, Tumblr, um, Flickr. It is absolutely amazing as to how many pagan sites in 2019 there actually really are. It's absolutely amazing that just in a short span of 15 years or 20 years, when I started doing this in 1999, boy, that sounds like it was a really long time ago, but in the scheme of things, it was but a blink of an eye. It was 20 years ago. When I first sat down to a computer to research what is paganism, I knew what I'd heard. I knew what I had talked to other people on BBSs and other chat programs of the day. There weren't many. Through meeting other people and listening to what they had to say paganism was, most everything that I was finding out then was either Druid or witchcraft, mostly witchcraft or Wicca. And witchcraft is not always Wiccan, and Wicca is not always witchcraft. Depends on your coven. Not even going to get into that. So when you're trying to learn and you're trying to understand what all of this means to you, most especially if you were raised in a ideology of Christianic philosophy, it makes it hard to step out of what you've been raised with when you were younger. So how do you use social networking? How do you use it to learn? Well, it's like anything else. You have to use an open mind, bookmark pages that sound interesting to you now, and even bookmark some of the crap pages that you find are absolutely hilarious. Come back in 3 months, reread those pages. You may find that the page that you found to be total and utter crap, you may find it to still be total and utter crap. Okay, well, delete that bookmark. The other one that you read that you found really good, lots of full information, maybe it doesn't fit you. Maybe bits and pieces of it fit you. I suggest that you start a Word document, and if you're using Linux or Mac or something, whatever the alternative is for a Word document, start a document and copy and paste paragraphs. The copy and paste of the different paragraphs, and then copy and paste the URL in there where you found it. And these things that are important to you, copy and paste them over in a Word document so you can have them come back to and read later. And later, if you find that they mean nothing to you, delete them. This is the way you use social networking to learn a spiritual path or to learn what religion you are, to find out who you are spiritually speaking. I have never even offered to try to tell people who they are within their own path, which is part of the reason why we developed a pagan church where all are welcome. And it's not my job to tell you what path you are. I may ask you if you're sure, and I may ask you to go research a little more, maybe meditate. But I generally tell people, go meet people that are in that path. See if these people are the lifestyle that you're looking for, the types of things that you want. Use social network and use social media for what it's there for. It's not written in stone, and even if it is written in stone, it may not be for you. It may be exactly what you're looking for with minuscule variables. Great. Rock on. Clint says, I do that a lot when I'm off on the weekends. Absolutely. So do I. It sometimes when I have a moment, which is very far and few between nowadays, sometimes when I have a moment at work, if a thought has hit my head, I research it, I take a look at it, I see what's going on with it, and I go from there. But when you're trying to locate people of like mind, and as pagan, we hang on to that. We hang on to that a lot. People of like mind. That does not mean someone that thinks exactly the same as you do. That does not mean someone that has the same exact morals as you do. Morals, like honor, is a very personal thing. You either have them, or you don't. Or you have some. But don't take everything everyone says as, pardon the pun, gospel. Back some many years ago, there was a group of people, if you will, that more or less put me on a pedestal in the early days. They, people like to put their religious leaders on a pedestal, and they think that they can do no wrong. Well, in pagan philosophy, that is the very worst thing you can do. Because in pagan philosophy, we believe, number one, first and foremost, we're human. We're very fallible. We make decisions that's the best for us. And those of us that are leaders in the pagan community, we try to make decisions that are the best for the community as a whole overall. And we do use social media so that we know what's going on in the world today. We use newsreels, news sites, news videos, broadcasts, so that we are aware of what's going on in the world today. To do that, it keeps us informed because what's going on today in the news and what's going on around you has a lot to do with the way you're going to respond spiritually or religiously speaking. You may have a lot going on in your life that's causing a boatload of stress and anxieties that's going to dictate the way you react to certain spiritual interactions with others. This is a known fact. A lot of people don't a lot of people don't understand this. I've had conversations with folk in the past about why social interaction dictates spiritual ideology. And I'll say that again. How social interaction can dictate spiritual ideology. Well, think about it. Human beings are very moldable, if you will. Humans are very susceptible to inset ideas. One person can generally not change the thought processes of an entire crowd of people. However, if that one person can gather two other people of like mind and they get to talking and they decide to control the crowd, if you will, in a good way or in a bad way, but they decide that the crowd needs to come together as a singularity, as a single idea. Those three people will start to fan out and they'll start talking to other people, slowly gathering the numbers. Now we see this all the time. We see it in demonstrations, we see it in marches, we see it in churches, we see it in religious establishments, and unfortunately, we see it in terrorism a lot. And I'm going to go ahead and throw this out there. Social media and social networking has trifold by many, many, many times increased the reach of terrorism. It's sad, and granted, social media does put algorithms in place to try to fight it and combat it. It's hard to do. If anybody knows anything at all about programming, which I know about that much about, but I understand the philosophy of it and how it works. So social media has also been known as a propaganda media. In some areas and some places you will hear social media be referred to as propaganda media, where it essentially spreads crap, innuendo, and hearsay throughout the masses. So when you're researching that and you're looking into these things, you need to be aware. You need to be cognitive of what it is you're looking at. I'm probably not going to keep you long today. I kind of figured this would be a short topic. I'd like to see more interaction from those of you that watch our pre-recorded broadcast. I'd like to see your posts, your questions here on Facebook and on YouTube, Tumblr, and on Flickr, some of our other archive areas, where you think that social media has helped you, hindered you, confused you more, or actually given you the ability to learn more. Whether you've had good experiences or bad, whether you've had a combination of both. But the number one thing that you need to remember when you are researching, most especially your spirituality. Spirituality to me is very important. It's a lot of what keeps me going, and it's a lot of what keeps our family going. We are definitely not, we are definitely not fundamentalist pagans. We embrace everything and everyone for who they are. And I ask you to do the same. Most especially if you come over to the pagan philosophy, remember, yeah, no two pagans are the same. And if you think about it, and I've seen this more times than not, no two Christians are the same either. I've gone into Christian churches, a bunch of them, and sit and listened. There's a lot of them. I go in, sit in the back pew, and I'll sit and watch the people, listen to the preacher pounding the gavel and pounding the Bible as they do. And the people in the church get hung up in the moment. And they get hung up in the energy of the moment. And they're amening to everything that the preacher spouts out of his mouth. And most of them could not tell you what he said or she said when they're done. They walk out of the church, a lot of them, go for a cold beer, and go right back to who they are. When you're learning the pagan philosophy, and you're learning how to be within the pagan ideology, don't bring that mindset. When you're studying pagan social media sites and social network sites, don't bring that mindset. Don't just agree with someone because someone of the elders says it. But don't come in as a troll either. We've been trolled on this channel, and we've been trolled on Live with the Shaman channel, and that's okay. We just let them spout their crap, and then once it's over, we just delete them. I don't have time for the drama of trolls. Um, yeah, so when you're when you're taking a look at social media, when you're getting into social networking, and you're getting out there and getting to know people and getting to know what's going on with people, you're going to find some of it is crap. You're going to find some of it that matches exactly what it is you're looking for. Now, folks, you may have to look. It may not be something you're going to sit down to Google and you're going to go, rap, enter, bang, found it, first top. Nope. Dig down. Dig down and even go over a couple of pages, because those top websites, those top sites, may not always be what they appear to be. Because there are ways to pay social media controllers that will falsify the hits on a website to bring it further up to the top. We look at that all the time, especially in my line of work. We look at the fake social media sites that have paid hundreds of dollars to get their site moved all the way up to the top 10 listing for all of the search engines: Google, Yahoo, Metacrawler, all of them. So scroll down. Read the first little paragraph there and the title of the page. Leave that search open and open in a new tab and go read the first couple of paragraphs. If it's crap, delete it. If it's not crap, save it. Use social media for what it's there for. Don't let social media use you. Remember that. When you're learning your path and your craft and what have you with social media, don't let it use you. Don't let it conduct the way you do things. Use it to help you learn. Use it to teach you other ways to go about the things that you do. So with that in mind, I'm going to give you your day back. Thank you to those of you that watch and or listen. There are some that don't use the video portion, they just listen. That's fine, that's great. If you like it, click it. If you don't like it, click it. If you've got a comment, keep it respectful. That's all we ask. Thank you for watching Open Pagan Church. We'll see you next week right here.